We are going to wander slowly through the story told in the book Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. We will move gently, like someone strolling along a quiet lane at dusk, with plenty of time to pause, to notice, and to breathe. Before there is magic, there is a very ordinary street. In the opening of the book, we meet a family who live at number 4 Privet Drive. It is described as a neat, respectable, almost painfully normal suburban house. The man of the house is Vernon Dursley, who works at a drill company. He is large, mustached, and likes things simple and predictable. His wife, Petunia, is thin and sharp, with a long neck that is very good for peering over fences and around curtains. They have one son, Dudley, who is cherished, indulged, and rather noisy. On the surface, if you looked at this house from the outside, nothing about it would suggest a hidden story. The grass is trimmed. The garden is tidy. The car is polished. The curtains are plain. It is the sort of place where people take comfort in routines and familiar patterns, where surprises are not welcome. And yet, behind that front door, the story of Harry Potter quietly waits. We learn that Harry is not their son, but their nephew. He is described, at first, almost as though he is a problem stored away in a cupboard, quite literally. Harry sleeps in the cupboard under the stairs, a cramped space filled with spiders and dust. He is small and thin, with untidy black hair and glasses held together with tape. On his forehead is a lightning-shaped scar, a mark he has always had, but never fully understood. The Dursleys do not talk about the night Harry arrived. They do not mention his parents. They refuse to explain the scar. For Harry, the past is a puzzle kept locked away. All he really knows is that his parents died in a car crash, and the Dursleys have taken him in, with more duty than affection. Life in Privet Drive is, for Harry, a long chain of small, dull days. There is always work to do, cooking, cleaning, weeding the garden, washing Dudley's extra toys. There is always the sense that he is in the way, that his presence is unwanted. At school, his clothes are too big, handed down from Dudley. At home, his meals are smaller. His birthdays pass almost unnoticed. The book paints this part of Harry's life in the colors of gray skis and beige wallpaper. It is not dramatic. It is simply lonely. And it is in this very ordinary setting, surrounded by the hum of the everyday, that magic begins to softly press at the edges. The first hints come in small, almost gentle ways. Strange people seem to recognize Harry. Once, he remembers, he was left with a babysitter and found himself on the school roof after being chased. He does not know how he got there. Another time, he grows his hair back overnight after an unfortunate haircut. A sweater shrinks so much that he does not have to wear it. The Dursleys scold him for these things, but Harry himself is bewildered. The world he knows has strict rules, yet something inside him does not always obey them. As we linger in these early chapters, you can imagine the small details of Privet Drive. The faint smell of polished wood in the hallway, the ticking of a clock in the living room, the feel of slightly worn carpet underfoot, the weight of the cupboard door closing, the thin mattress, the flicker of light seeping in through the gap under the door when he is sent there as a punishment. These are the textures of Harry's ordinary world. The story's power comes partly from this quiet beginning, this sense that he is just a forgotten child in a normal house, on a normal street. At night, Harry might lie awake in his cupboard, listening to the distant sound of cars on the road, the muffled chatter of a television, the occasional occasional drone of Petunia's vacuum cleaner in another room. Perhaps he traces the shape of the scar on his forehead with his fingers, not knowing that it is connected to a world he has never seen. In a way, this first section of the book is like the part of an evening when the house has not yet become fully quiet, but the day is fading. Light is still coming through the windows, but shadows are beginning to stretch. We are still in the ordinary world, but the story is preparing to cross over into something else. And slowly, the day of Harry's 11th birthday draws closer. Change arrives in the form of a letter. One morning, the Dursleys find an envelope addressed in a curious, old-fashioned hand. The address is extremely precise. It is not just written to Harry Potter, but to Harry Potter in the cupboard under the stairs. The paper is thick and creamy. The ink is green. The stamp is not a stamp at all, but a wax seal bearing a coat of arms. This letter, of course, is from Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. The reader learns this quickly. Harry, however, does not. The envelope is taken from him before he can read it. Vernon and Petunia are alarmed. They have spent years trying to keep magic out of their home, trying to push away the memory of Harry's mother, Petunia's sister, who was a witch. So the letters keep coming. Each day, more envelopes appear. They slide under doors, arrive through the slot, fall down the chimney. They are tucked inside eggs, stuffed into cracks, delivered in so many ways that it begins to feel as though the house itself is surrounded by an invisible tide. The Dursleys react by trying to shut every opening. They nail up the letterbox. They block the fireplace. They shout, they argue, they panic. To Harry, the letters are a mystery and a symbol of something just out of reach. He can glimpse the green ink, the heavy paper, but he is not allowed to see the words. For a boy who has never received a real letter, who has never been celebrated, this is both painful and strangely hopeful. Someone, somewhere, knows he exists and cares enough to keep writing. The tension grows, but even this tension in the book is written with a certain rhythm. We feel the repetition, the daily arrival of letters, the steadily rising number of them, like rain growing from a light drizzle to a steady downpour. Vernon Dursley makes a decision. He impulsively packs the family into the car, including Harry, and drives away. He is trying to outrun the letters, as though they are a storm he can leave behind. They stay in a small hotel, but the letters follow, delivered there as well. So Vernon drives further, out into the countryside, until they reach a tiny hut perched on a rock in the sea. The sea is wild and gray. The wind is cold and strong. The hut is bare and uncomfortable. There is a small fireplace, some blankets, and the sound of waves crashing against stone. It is here, on this lonely rock, that the story waits for midnight. Midnight in stories is often a moment when the world feels thin and the ordinary rules soften. In the hut, Dudley is asleep under a tattered blanket. Harry lies awake on the floor, on the cold, hard boards, counting down in his head. He knows that midnight will mark his 11th birthday. As the minutes pass, you can imagine the sounds around him. The creaking of the hut in the wind, the rattle of the door, the soft, rhythmic breathing of the others in the room, the whisper of rain against the roof. Perhaps Harry feels the chill in his fingers and toes, tucks his borrowed blanket more tightly around himself, and stares into the faint glow of the dying fire. For someone whose birthdays have always passed almost unnoticed, there is no expectation of presents or cake, but there is a sense of quiet curiosity. 11 is not a grand age, but it is a new one. And the letters have hinted that something is approaching. Then, just as the clock hits midnight, there is a sound. In the book, it is described as a loud, booming knock. It rattles the hut and sends a shiver through the reader. But if we soften it for our sleepy journey, we can imagine it as a deep, solid thump, like the sound of a heavy hand meeting thick wood, echoing through the small space. The door opens, and in steps Hagrid. Rubeus Hagrid, keeper of keys and grounds at Hogwarts, is enormous. He is half-giant, with a wild beard, kind eyes, and a great coat full of pockets. He fills the room simply by standing in it. But his presence is not harsh. It is large, yes, but also warm and a little disordered, like a friendly bear wandering into a campsite. In the glow of the firelight, he straightens the door that he accidentally knocked off its hinges, brushes off the rain, and looks around. He recognizes Harry at once. And with a mixture of surprise and outrage, he learns that Harry has been told nothing of his true nature. The moment when Hagrid tells Harry, "You're a wizard," is one of the most famous lines in the book. It is the turning point where the edges of Harry's world expand in an instant. For our gentle retelling, we can think of it as the moment a curtain is drawn back to reveal a hidden garden, or a door is quietly unlocked. From Hagrid, Harry learns the truth, that his parents did not die in a car crash, but were a witch and wizard killed by a dark wizard named Voldemort. Harry himself survived as a baby when Voldemort tried to kill him. The curse rebounded, leaving Voldemort weakened and nearly destroyed, and leaving Harry with his scar. Hagrid is angry at the Dursleys for hiding this, but he is always kind to Harry. He brings a slightly squashed birthday cake, writes out a letter that Harry can finally read, and explains that Harry has been invited to study at Hogwarts. In the small hut atop the rock in the sea, something very large changes, as quietly and clearly as the tide turning. Harry, who has always felt small and unwanted, learns that in another world, in another community, he is known and even famous. He is not just a boy under the stairs. He is the boy who lived. This is the edge of change. It is still dark outside. The sea continues its endless movement. The wind still whistles, but inside the hut, the air feels different. A path has opened, and in the morning, Harry will step onto it. The next sequence in the book carries Harry from the ordinary world he has known into the extraordinary world that has been waiting for him. In many stories, there is a threshold to cross, a gate or border between the known and the unknown. For Harry, one of those thresholds is the entrance to Diagon Alley. After leaving the rocky hut and returning to the mainland, Hagrid takes Harry to London. They walk through the bustling, familiar streets of the city, passing shops, traffic, and people who are unaware of the hidden world nearby. Eventually, they arrive at the Leaky Cauldron, a small pub squeezed between other buildings. To most passers-by, the Leaky Cauldron is invisible or unremarkable. But to those who know how to see it, it is a gateway. Inside, the atmosphere is cozy and slightly dim. There are wooden tables, candles, and the quiet murmur of conversation. People in cloaks and robes sit together, drinking and talking. It is here that Harry experiences something very new: recognition and kindness from strangers. Witches and and wizards come up to him, shaking his hand, speaking gently, delighted to see him. For a boy who has been ignored and scolded for most of his life, this attention is surprising and almost overwhelming. Behind the leaky cauldron lies a small walled courtyard. Hagrid taps certain bricks in the wall with his umbrella, following a pattern. Slowly, the bricks shuffle and rearrange themselves, opening a doorway into Diagon Alley. Diagon Alley is one of the most memorable settings in the book. It is described as a twisting, cobbled street lined with shops that sell everything a witch or wizard might need. Cauldrons, robes, spellbooks, quills, animals, and more. For Harry, it is like stepping into a dream. We can walk through it with him, slowly. There is a shop with brass scales in the window, glinting softly in the light. Another with telescopes and delicate instruments. A place where cauldrons of various sizes and metals are stacked in neat rows. Robes are displayed on mannequins in a tailor's window. There is the scent of parchment and ink near the bookshop, and the rustle of pages as people browse. Owls hoot softly from a pet shop. They sit in cages, their feathers fluffed, eyes bright and watchful. Cats, toads, and other creatures are present as well. Somewhere nearby, a cauldron bubbles gently, sending up a faint, unusual smell. Hagrid and Harry visit Gringotts, the wizarding bank, which stands tall and white at the end of the alley. Goblins run it, small and sharp-eyed, dressed in smart suits. To reach the vaults, they take a cart that rattles along metal tracks deep underground. The air grows cooler, and the sound of the cart echoes in the tunnels. In Harry's vault, he discovers, for the first time, a pile of gold, silver, and bronze coins, money left to him by his parents. The sight is both practical and emotional. Not only does it mean he can buy his school things, but it also reminds him that his parents lived, worked, and cared enough to leave something for him. Piece by piece, Harry acquires the objects he will need for school. Robes in plain black fabric, to be trimmed according to his house once he is sorted. A wand, chosen after several attempts, from the shop of Ollivander. The wand that responds to him is notably connected to Voldemort. But for now, it is simply described as the right wand, producing sparks when he holds it. He buys his textbooks, each with its own title and promise of knowledge. The Standard Book of Spells Asterisk, a history of magic asterisk, magical drafts, and potions asterisk, and others. Hagrid also buys him a snowy owl, whom Harry names Hedwig, as a birthday gift. The day in Diagon Alley is full and quietly wonderful for Harry. For the reader, it is a rich, sensory experience. You can imagine the feel of smooth wood under his fingers as he holds his wand, the weight of the books in his arms, the lightness of his new coins in a pouch. The buzz of conversation in many different accents and tones. The clink of cups and goblets in the leaky cauldron when they return there to rest. Yet, like all days, it comes to an end. Harry returns to Privet Drive for a few more weeks, bringing with him his school things and a secret world that now exists just beyond the surface of his everyday life. He reads late into the night by the light of a hidden lamp, learning about potions, spells, and magical creatures. Even before he sets foot in Hogwarts, the final threshold is the journey from King's Cross Station. On the 1st of September, Harry goes to the station with the Dursleys, who are dismissive and unhelpful. His ticket says to take the Hogwarts Express from platform 9 3/4. But such a platform is not visible between platforms 9 and 10. Here, the story offers a small moment of quiet anxiety, but also a gentle solution. Harry notices a family nearby, with children talking about Hogwarts. The mother is Molly Weasley, and with her guidance, Harry learns that you reach platform 9 3/4 by walking straight at the barrier between platforms 9 and 10 with a bit of confidence. He runs at the barrier, expecting perhaps a collision, but instead passes through, emerging into a hidden platform. There, a bright red steam engine waits, puffing clouds of white steam into the air. The platform is full of families, trunks, and owls. The sound of voices and laughter fills the space. Harry boards the train and finds a compartment. As it pulls away from the station, the real world of London slips slowly out of sight. Fields and countryside replace buildings, and the train carries Harry and many other students deeper into the wizarding world. He meets Ron Weasley in that compartment, a boy with red hair, second-hand robes, and a kind, slightly shy manner. Later, Hermione Granger appears in the doorway, looking for Neville's lost toad, speaking in a brisk, efficient way, already worried about learning and rules. Together, these early encounters plant the seeds of friendships that will shape Harry's life. The journey on the train is calm and steady, a moving cocoon in which he eats magical sweets, hears about chocolate frogs and Bertie Bott's every flavor beans, and listens to Ron talk about his family and the world Harry is just beginning to understand. By the time the train slows and stops at its destination, night has fallen. The students are guided off the train and down to the shore of a dark lake. Small boats wait, gently rocking. The water is still, reflecting the scattered light of lanterns. Across the lake, rising up like something from a dream, is Hogwarts. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry is described as a huge, sprawling castle with towers, turrets, and a sense of age and grandeur. As the small boats cross the lake, the students gaze up at it, feeling a mix of awe and nervous excitement. The water laps softly against the sides of the boats. The night air is cool. Stars, if visible, shimmer faintly above. On the far shore, the first years climb out and follow Hagrid up a path to the castle's great doors. Inside, they step into an entrance hall lit by flaming torches. The ceiling is high. The stone floor echoes with footsteps. The air smells faintly of stone, wax, and something like old wood, the scent of a place that has existed for centuries. Before they are taken into the Great Hall, they meet Professor McGonagall, the stern but fair head of Gryffindor House. She explains that they will soon be sorted into one of 4 houses: Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, or Slytherin. Each house has its own common room, dormitories, and traditions. The idea of being sorted is both exciting and a little frightening. Harry worries that he might not fit anywhere, or that he might be placed in a house known for ambition and cunning, such as Slytherin. He is a boy still learning who he is. The Great Hall is one of the most enchanting locations in the book. As the first years enter, they see 4 long tables, where the older students are already seated, their faces turned to watch the newcomers. Above them, thousands of candles float in midair, illuminating the hall with a warm, flickering glow. the ceiling is enchanted to look like the night sky. Tonight, it shows the same stars and clouds that lie outside. The effect the next days and weeks will be filled with lessons, corridors, and discoveries. But for now, you can imagine the castle settling into night, its many windows dimming one by one, the lake outside stretching into quiet darkness, and the mountains surrounding it standing calm and still. Once term begins, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone shifts into a rhythm of school life. For our purposes tonight, we can focus on the gentle pattern of days at Hogwarts, the early mornings, the classes, the meals, and the small adventures that slowly build Harry's new life. Each day starts with the sound of movement in the dormitory, footsteps on stone, drawers opening and closing, the soft murmur of sleepy voices. The castle itself seems to wake up, with owls swooping in through the windows at breakfast to deliver mail, and the scent of toast, porridge, and tea drifting through the great hall. Harry and Ron get dressed in their school robes, pin their ties, and make their way down to breakfast with the other Gryffindors. At the long house table, plates and dishes appear, filled with a variety of foods. Students pour pumpkin juice or tea, pass along platters, and talk about the day ahead. The timetable at Hogwarts includes subjects that Harry has never imagined studying. There is Transfiguration, where Professor McGonagall teaches them to change one thing into another, a match into a needle, for instance. There is Charms, where Professor Flitwick, a small and excitable teacher, shows them how to levitate objects or make them move in small, controlled ways. Potions class takes place in the cool, shadowed dungeons, under the watchful, somewhat intimidating eye of Professor Snape. Here, the students learn to chop ingredients, stir cauldrons, and follow precise instructions to create mixtures that can heal, change, or reveal. The room smells of herbs, smoke, and whatever is simmering gently at each table. There's also history of magic, taught by a ghost, Professor Binns, who reads aloud from his notes in a monotonous voice. The classroom is warm, and the subject matter, though important, is presented in such a steady, unchanging way that many students struggle to stay awake. Harry learns about goblin rebellions, famous wizards of the past, and the long story of the magical world that existed long before he was born. Herbology lessons take place in greenhouses filled with magical plants. Students wear gloves and sometimes protective equipment as they repot seedlings that wriggle, prune plants that squeak, or water herbs that twitch under their fingers. The air is moist and earthy, with sunlight filtering through glass. Throughout all of this, Harry is steadily accompanied by his new friends. Ron becomes his closest companion. They share jokes, worries, and homework. Ron introduces Harry to wizard chess, where the pieces are alive and move themselves, sometimes with a bit of grumbling. They play in the common room by the fire, the pieces clinking as they smash each other in dramatic, but safely contained, ways. Hermione, at first, seems bossy and intense. She knows all the answers in class, raises her hand constantly, and scolds the boys when they do not take their studies seriously. Over time, however, she becomes an essential part of their trio, clever, loyal, and brave. Neville Longbottom, shy and a bit clumsy, is another presence in their year. His forgetfulness and nervousness sometimes lead to mishaps, but he has a good heart. There are also the Weasley twins, Fred and George. whose sense of humor brings lightness to many scenes. They play pranks, trade jokes, and sometimes undermine the strictness of the school in a way that keeps life at Hogwarts from ever becoming too serious. Even in a magical school, there are small routines and comforts. Students walk in groups between lessons, robes swishing. They carry books and parchment, quills and ink. Sometimes they are late and hurry along corridors, trying to avoid the notice of Filch, the caretaker, and his cat, Mrs. Norris. In the evenings, after dinner, they return to the common room. There, some sit by the fire, reading. Others work on essays or practice spells. The atmosphere is one of quiet industry mixed with soft chatter. On weekends, there are trips to the village of Hogsmeade for older students, and long afternoons where first years can explore the grounds with certain boundaries. The lake is there, wide and dark, home to the giant squid. The forbidden forest stands at the edge, with its tall trees and unknown creatures officially off limits. Quidditch, the magical sport played on broomsticks, becomes a significant part of Harry's life. He discovers that he is a natural flyer. When he climbs onto a broom, he feels a deep sense of freedom, as though he has found something he was born to do. He is recruited to play Seeker for the Gryffindor team, making him the youngest house player in a century. Practices take place on the Quidditch pitch, an open oval surrounded by stands. The air is cool and bracing. Harry speeds through it, chasing the tiny golden snitch with its fluttering wings. The feel of the broom beneath him, the rush of wind, the focused quiet inside his mind as he searches for the glint of gold, all become part of his experience of Hogwarts. The book does contain matches and moments of tension on the field, but even these can be seen as part of the pattern of school life, periods of excitement within a larger, steady rhythm. Throughout these gentle days of learning, small hints of a deeper mystery begin to surface. A package guarded by a three-headed dog, whispered references to something called the Philosopher's Stone, suspicious movements in the corridors, a troll in the dungeons, which brings Harry, Ron, and Hermione together as friends when they work to save Hermione from danger. By the time the winter holidays arrive, Hogwarts feels fully lived in. Snow falls on the castle and the grounds. Icicles hang from the roofs. Fires burn more brightly in the hearths. Some students go home for Christmas, but Harry chooses to stay. For him, this is his first real Christmas. The common room is decorated. He receives presents, including a hand-knit sweater from Mrs. Weasley and an invisibility cloak that once belonged to his father. The cloak, smooth and silvery, makes the wearer unseen. There is a Christmas feast in the Great Hall, with crackers, music, and laughter. At night, the air in the dormitory is cold enough to make noses tingle, but the beds are warm under thick blankets. These days of learning and celebration, with their mix of lessons and leisure, build a foundation of safety and belonging for Harry. They are the slow, steady heartbeat beneath the story's mystery. Even as Harry becomes more comfortable at Hogwarts, the mystery of the Philosopher's Stone grows in the background. One night, using his invisibility cloak, Harry wanders the castle, exploring places he is not supposed to go. He discovers a room where a massive, three-headed dog stands guard over a trapdoor in the floor. The dog, later nicknamed Fluffy, belongs to Hagrid. Its presence and the trapdoor beneath it clearly indicate that something important is hidden there. Through bits of overheard conversation, books, and guidance from Hagrid, Harry and his friends gradually piece together the idea that the Philosopher's Stone is a powerful object capable of producing the elixir of life and turning metal into gold. In the wizarding world, it is associated with Nicholas Flamel, an alchemist of great renown. The stone itself is protected at Hogwarts, and several teachers have placed enchantments and obstacles to guard it. Harry begins to suspect that someone within the school might be trying to steal it, possibly to help Voldemort return to power. However, for much of the book, this mystery remains just one thread among many. Life goes on. Lessons continue. Quidditch matches are played. Snow melts into spring. Exams draw near. Harry, Ron, and Hermione balance their everyday responsibilities with their quiet investigation. They visit Hagrid's hut on the edge of the Forbidden Forest, where a fire always crackles and the large wooden furniture creaks under his weight. Hagrid makes tea, offers rock cakes, which are very hard, and talks about magical creatures with a fondness that sometimes leads him into trouble. One such trouble comes when Hagrid acquires a dragon egg, which later hatches into a baby dragon he names Norbert. Dragons are illegal to keep without special permission, so Harry and his friends help to smuggle Norbert away to a safe home. The process is stressful, but in our gentle retelling, we can focus on the kindness behind their efforts to help both Hagrid and the creature. As the term progresses, the sense of something coming builds, but it does so slowly, like distant thunder that can barely be heard over the everyday sounds of life at school. One night, Harry and Hermione are caught out of bed after hours while delivering Norbert. They narrowly escape serious punishment, but lose house points. This experience teaches them that even well-intentioned rule-breaking has consequences. Then comes the detentions in the Forbidden Forest. The forest is a dark, ancient place full of magical beings. During their detention, Harry and Draco Malfoy, another student, along with Hagrid and others, go into the woods to investigate a creature attacking unicorns. The air is cold, and the trees loom overhead. The path underfoot is uneven, covered in leaves and roots. In a clearing, Harry sees a hooded figure drinking unicorn blood. The sight is eerie and unsettling. The book suggests that this figure may be Voldemort, clinging to life in a weakened form. A centaur, Firenze, rescues Harry and speaks to him about the danger. For our sleeping listener, it is enough to know that Harry catches a glimpse of the shadow that still lingers over his life. It is a reminder that, despite the safety of Hogwarts, the story contains deeper, darker currents. Back in the castle, exams approach. Students study in the library, poring over parchment and ink. The days lengthen. The grounds turn green. The air warms. Harry, Ron, and Hermione realize that the protections around the stone could be overcome that very night. They believe that the teacher they suspect is planning to act. And so, they make a decision. They will go down through the trapdoor beneath Fluffy and try to reach the stone first. The sequence that follows is the story's climax. But in this gentle retelling, we can move through it slowly and quietly, like walking through a series of rooms in a dream. Harry, Ron, and Hermione slip out of the Gryffindor common room under the invisibility cloak. castle is dark and hushed. Portraits on the walls are asleep or watching silently. The floor is cool under their feet. They reach the corridor where Fluffy stands guard. Using a flute Hagrid gave Harry, they play music to lull the three-headed dog to sleep. Gradually, the creature's eyelids droop. Its breathing slows. When they are sure it is asleep, they open the trapdoor and climb down. Below, they encounter a series of magical challenges, each designed by a different teacher. The first is a mass of Devil's Snare, a magical plant that tightens its grip when someone struggles, but relaxes in the absence of movement and in bright light. Harry and Ron initially panic as the plant wraps around them, but Hermione remembers what she has read and uses a spell to produce light and warmth, causing the plant to release them. Next, they find a room filled with winged keys, each fluttering through the air like a small metallic bird. A single door at the far end requires the correct key. Harry, being an excellent flyer, mounts a broom and soars up among the keys, scanning for the right one. The air around him is filled with the soft clink of metal wings and the whoosh of other keys as they dart away. Eventually, he spots a slightly damaged key, reasoning that it has already been used once before. He catches it and uses it to open the door. In the following chamber, they encounter a giant wizard chess set. Here, the pieces are large, carved stone figures that move of their own accord. Ron, skilled at wizard chess, understands that the only way forward is to play a full game, taking the place of some of the pieces themselves. He directs the board with calm authority, positioning Harry and Hermione where they are needed. The game is intense, but within our soft retelling, we can imagine the heavy scrape of stone on stone, the echo of commands, and the measured pace of the match. In the end, Ron sacrifices himself, allowing his knight to be taken so that Harry can checkmate the opposing king. Ron is injured in the process and cannot continue, so Harry and Hermione go on without him. The next chamber contains a troll already unconscious, having been overcome by someone who passed through earlier. The smell is unpleasant, and the room is large and echoing, but there is no immediate danger. They hurry on. After that, they encounter a room filled with black and purple flames, along with a table of potions and a logic puzzle. Hermione uses her intelligence and reasoning to choose the correct potion that will allow one of them to go forward and the other to return. She drinks the potion that will send her back to help Ron, while Harry takes the one that will allow him to pass through the flames toward the final chamber. When Harry steps through, he finds not the teacher he expects, but Professor Quirrell, the nervous defense against the dark arts teacher who has seemed timid all year. In truth, Quirrell has been working with Voldemort. The chamber is quiet and somewhat bare. In front of a tall, ornate mirror, the mirror of Erist, Quirrell stands, speaking with someone only he can hear. Voldemort's weakened form is sharing Quirrell's body. The mirror of Erist shows the deepest desires of the person who looks into it. When Harry looks, he sees himself with the stone in his pocket. The magic of the mirror, combined with Dumbledore's enchantment, places the real stone into Harry's pocket, but only because he wants to find it, but not use it. Quirrell, under Voldemort's influence, demands that Harry hand over the stone. There is a struggle, physical and magical. When Quirrell tries to touch Harry, his skin burns. The love and sacrifice that protected Harry as a baby now acts as a shield. In the end, Harry holds on as long as he can, but the strain is too much. He loses consciousness. From our soft, bedtime perspective, we can let that moment blur gently into darkness, like the last moments before drifting into sleep. When Harry wakes, he is in the hospital wing at Hogwarts. Sunlight filters through the windows. The sheets are crisp and white. There is a quiet, steady atmosphere of healing. Dumbledore is there, calm and kind, ready to explain what happened in simple terms. He tells Harry that the stone has been destroyed to prevent its misuse, and that Nicholas Flamel and his wife have accepted this and will be able to rest. He also explains more about the protection Harry carries from his mother's sacrifice, and about the connection between Harry and Voldemort. These explanations are important, but they are given in a gentle, reassuring way. Harry learns that his friends are safe. Ron is recovering from his injuries in the chess game. Hermione is well. The threat to the stone has been removed. The school year draws to a close with the leaving feast in the Great Hall. At first, Slytherin appears to have won the House Cup, their green banners hanging triumphantly. But Dumbledore awards last-minute points to Harry, Ron, Hermione, and Neville for their courage, cleverness, and loyalty in trying to protect the stone. With these points, Gryffindor edges ahead and wins the House Cup. The hall is transformed with red